Yo guys, I have returned and today I'm gonna share with you my top 10 favorite actors of all time. Let's talk about it. Before you begin, comment down below your top 10 favorite actors of all time. And also keep in mind that this is my top 10 personal favorite actors, not objectively best actors of all time. Also hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And with all that said, let's get started. Coming in at number 10 for me is going to be Bruce Willis. Of course, Die Hard is one of my favorite action movies of all time. And just one of my favorite movies of all time. And that is partially thanks to Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber, but also thanks to Mr. John McClane, played just brilliantly by Bruce Willis. What I love about him is that he can be this heroic action hero while also remaining human, and he actually doesn't even want to be there. And Bruce Willis just nails all of that. And besides his action performances, he can also do the dramatic bits very good. Like The Sixth Sense, also one of my favorite movies of his. Just overall a great actor. At number 9 I have Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is Captain Jack Sparrow. And that was already enough to get into my top 10 actually. Because Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl is a very important movie to my childhood and to who I am today. And it largely comes down to the character of Captain Jack Sparrow, who is just played perfectly by Johnny Depp. He was so good that he even got nominated for an Oscar, which I think he should have won, because it's very rare to get nominated for an Oscar for a blockbuster like this. And even beyond Pirates of the Caribbean, he also can do very serious roles, like in Donnie Brasco. So he also has some sentimental value to me. So that is why he easily gets into my top 10. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is just an actor who has played in so many of my favorite movies of all time. With my personal favorite movie of his career being Top Gun. And of course I love the Mission Impossible movies. And Tom Cruise is also an actor who just has a great range of acting abilities. Like nowadays he is known to be one of the great action stars who does a lot of his own stunts. But before that, in the 90s, he was actually known to be one of the great dramatic actors, like in Jerry Maguire, A Few Good Men. Those are far from action performances, but those are really good dramatic performances. So Tom Cruise also easily is in my top 10. Coming in at number 7 is Sylvester Stallone. This one and the one above it go back and forth, and they're both just my top 2 favorite action heroes of all time. And what I love about Stallone is obviously his many great action movies like Rambo, Cobra and all that stuff. And he also plays Rocky, obviously, one of my favorite movie characters of all time, which he actually got nominated for twice for Best Actor. And unfortunately he didn't win either of those, but you gotta hand it to him that he actually got nominated twice for playing the same character, which is very rare. And just, yeah, he's a great action star and he also can do drama. And he's one of my top 2 favorite action heroes of all time. Coming in at number 6 is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger are my top 2 favorite action heroes of all time. And right now I think Arnold is my favorite action hero of all time. He too has played in so many of my favorite action movies of all time, with my all-time personal favorite being Terminator 2. And of course the original Terminator is pretty amazing as well. And I love Predator, True Lies, Total Recall, which are all just so much fun to watch because of Arnold and his wonderful Austrian accent. And because of his accent, he just becomes one of the most quotable actors of all time, because everything he says just becomes a one-liner, which is what makes Arnold so great. Kicking off the top 5 is Mark Hamill. Obviously, one of my favorite movie characters of all time is Luke Skywalker, who is just played brilliantly by Mark Hamill. He just nails all of the characteristics of Luke, and he is just a very fun character and actor to go on this adventure with. But besides Star Wars, I actually don't know a lot of big movies that he has done. But he has done some amazing voice work after the Star Wars movies. I think Mark Hamill is the greatest animated Joker we have to this day. And he is Fire Lord Ozai in Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is also just fantastically voiced by Mark Hamill. So obviously Mark Hamill is into my top 5. At number 4 we have Clint Eastwood. In my opinion, just the greatest Western actor of all time. Yes, I love John Wayne too, and I know that to a lot of people he is the greatest Western actor of all time. But I grew up watching Clint Eastwood movies. So for that reason he is my favorite Western actor of all time. In particularly, The Man with No Name is just so badass, who barely talks, but he always has a screen presence and he just looks so cool with his cigar in his mouth, even though he hated smoking cigars in real life. And even beyond his westerns, he has done drama movies and he's a great director. And he is also a great action hero in Dirty Harry. So obviously he's one of my favorite actors of all time. Kicking off the top 3 is Al Pacino. Whereas Clint Eastwood is the greatest Western actor of all time, I think that Al Pacino is the greatest gangster actor of all time. He has starred in so many of the greatest gangster movies of all time, with my personal favorite being Scarface. And obviously I love The Godfather as well. And I thought he was great in Donnie Brasco, where he starred alongside Johnny Depp. And Heat is also one of my favorite movies of all time, where he starred alongside Robert De Niro. And Al Pacino always just has this amazing screen presence. And he can be very threatening while being funny at the same time. And overall, I just love Al Pacino. The runner-up is Sean Connery. I don't think I have to explain why he is so high up in the list. But even besides being the most iconic James Bond, he's done so many other of my favorite movies of all time. The Rock, one of the great action movies of the 90s. And his Oscar-winning role in The Untouchables, which he totally deserved. And of course, he has always been my favorite James Bond. And I think Sean Connery is just the coolest guy that has ever lived. I don't know anyone else who can make something so simple as just walking look so cool. And my personal favorite performance of his is obviously James Bond. But my personal favorite movie starring Sean Connery is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And he's actually in two ways the father of Indiana Jones, because obviously he played the father of Indy in The Last Crusade, but James Bond was also a great inspiration for Indiana Jones. So easily he's the runner-up. But coming in at number 1 is Harrison Ford. When somebody asks me what my favorite movie of all time is, I always say the original Star Wars trilogy and the original Indiana Jones trilogy. And Harrison Ford just happens to star in both of them. And Indiana Jones just is my childhood hero. I grew up watching Indiana Jones, and Harrison Ford is just perfect. No one else can match that level of charisma, heroism and action as well as he does. And of course, Han Solo is also one of my favorite movie characters of all time. And just besides those movies, he has done The Fugitive, Witness, the Jack Ryan movies. So many movies that I love. And like I said, Indiana Jones was my childhood hero. And I just have huge sentimental value to Harrison Ford as an actor, especially as Indiana Jones. So easily, Harrison Ford, without a question, is my favorite actor of all time. Now comment down below your top 10 favorite actors of all time. And thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And as always, I will return.